Oh, the things I gave up to be loved. I don't tell this story because I'm stuck in it. I'm not fascinated by it anymore. I tell this story because I know I'm not the only one. I gave up so many things, parts of myself that I just quietly set aside. I put them down without a second thought, and I never even realized I was doing it. So let's see. Looking back, maybe it was our first real date, Celtics at the Boston Garden. But wait, I haven't even told you how we met. So we met through friends. The best way to meet people is through friends. And, but we weren't supposed to meet, at least not one another. A friend of mine had called me and said, I really want to set a buddy of mine up with this girlfriend of mine. Would you come and meet us? It'll be less awkward if we all meet up together. And I said, sure, 100%, absolutely, love to do it. Sounds great. Name the time and place. And as luck turns out, my girlfriend couldn't make it. And he said, well, just come anyways. We're here, or I'm here. And so I went to the place and pulled into the parking lot at the same time as another car, Camaro, super cute. And as I got out of the car, the guy from the Camaro got out and he kind of raced me to the door so that he could open the door for me. And I was looking at his hand on the door, and when I looked up, I just thought, wow, he's awesome. And that was it. I was crushing hard, let's just say that. And of course, he was the friend that was supposed to meet my friend, and her loss, my gain, lucky me. That's how he and I met. And I shortly thereafterwards, I think it was probably our first real one-on-one big date. But again, I'm missing out one thing. After that night at the club that we met at, the next day, I get a phone call in my office, and it's a voicemail. It was a busy day, and I listened to that voicemail, and it was this very deep voice saying, hi, it was so great to meet you. Would you be willing to get together and have a cup of coffee with me sometime? And I just thought, oh, he's smooth. He's got the moves. And we did meet up. I think we met up for coffee several times. But then we finally did have our first kind of big real date. I had scored some tickets from work through friends and clients for Skybox at the Boston Garden for a Celtics game. And not just anybody gets these tickets. Companies own them, big companies, Pepsi, Frito-Lay, all the major players that do a lot of whining and dining and advertising. And so through a friend, I got invited, and it was a pretty big deal. And I kind of played it off casual because it was a new relationship. And I just said, I got some tickets to a Celtics game. I know you like basketball. Would you like to go? And he said, sure, and I knew it was a big deal, but I kind of tried to downplay it. We were from slightly different backgrounds. And so I didn't want it to be too intimidating, and I didn't want him to get nervous that he was going to meet some of my bigger clients and more important friends and, all the things. It's a big deal. And I didn't want it to be overwhelming. So I just said tickets to a Celtics game. And I, of course, dolled myself up for Skybox. Technically, we might be on camera that night when they pan the camera around the skyboxes to see who's in them, we could be out on the balcony. And so I was going to look good. And when he picked me up, I realized that maybe it was a tactical error that I hadn't told him. And so I said, hey, like, this is kind of a big deal. Skybox, it'll be catered. There'll be a bar in the room. There'll be servers. And you know how it is. I think a lot of women, we tend to pick out a great guy and then just make him a little bit extra, you know? And so I suggested that we stop off at the mall and maybe pick him out a shirt. I think I said, yeah, you could use like maybe just a collared shirt because he was wearing a t-shirt. And I thought, a collared shirt, yeah, that'll do it. And an hour or so later, we had gone on a whirlwind shopping spree. It was not just a collared shirt. It was a new t-shirt, very fitted, and a collared shirt to go over it. And that wouldn't really go with the jeans. So a new pair of pants. And of course the pants needed the right belt. And with that on, the sneakers weren't going to work. So we needed shoes and the right socks. And so basically I re-outfitted him from head to toe. Maybe got a little carried away. I was excited. I felt like it was being generous. I felt like it was a special occasion, and, you know, a little bit in the back of my mind, maybe I wanted to show up with like the best dressed and best looking man. I don't know. That could have been part of it. But we went to the Celtics game, and we, I think, were pretty much, new relationship, pretty much the most sparkly little couple in the skybox. I have no idea if we ever made it onto the sky cam. I can't tell you what the score of the game was. I spent most of my evening looking at him and wrapped in attention to hanging on every word he said and just enjoying the atmosphere. It was very, festive. Drinks and sparkling conversation, and he's charming and we're just chatting away and having a great time. It was a wonderful evening, but like I said, who knows who won or lost the game. But it was a pretty successful first date. It's wild that it never occurred to me at the time that by doing all of this, I might be setting a standard. And I don't know, it just didn't feel like that. It felt like the right thing to do. And come to think of it, it kind of surprises me a bit that he let me do all of that. It was a big deal. So anyhow, I guess there's probably a lot of other things that fall in line with that kind of thinking of my partner before myself. And let's see. Like I said, it was little things, it was big things. Probably one of the things that sticks out for me now, I quit skiing. I just quit skiing. I skied competitively as a kid. I was an active and avid skier every season, every year at the holidays, pretty much from Christmas to when we came back to work after New Year's. I went to this charming little inn in New Hampshire and skied all the mountains. Had all kinds of little traditions, the places we stayed, the clam chowder we ate. It was a thing I did every single year. And he didn't ski. So he said he would be more than content to go with me and sit by the fireplace, maybe with a fake cast where he could regale people with stories of how he broke his leg. That was perfectly fine. And I could ski to my heart's content. And the truth is, we never went skiing. not once, not ever. It was one of those many things that I just quietly put aside. I had a group of friends. We used to go to an island every year. You know, it was a quick trip for us, and we would just go and swim and scuba dive. I was a very avid scuba diver, and we would just have a blast. Just a gang of us, like a big gang of us. And it was always the more the merrier. And he didn't want to do that. And I never went back, not once. So it was just a lot of things like that none of them occurred to me at the time. Like, it didn't seem crazy. It just it seemed like when you become a part of a couple, and eventually we got married, and they're just things, the sacrifices you make for the family unit, right? It was just the things you do. It never occurred to me to be bothered by it. But I can say on reflection, like, those were the things that really sparked a lot of joy in me. Those were the places and the people and the occasions where I felt fully joyful and alive. And over time, every single vacation day I took was used for family trips. Go home for Christmas, go home for Thanksgiving, go be with his family. It was mostly all his family. So I didn't lose myself all at once. I let it be chipped away at little by little over time. And it wasn't a demand. I handed it over effortlessly. Sure, let's go see your parents for the holidays instead. Let's not go skiing. We only have so many vacation times. It's so important to spend time with family. You know, it just makes sense. You know, it was completely reasonable. And if you've ever done this yourself, if you've ever overgiven, overaccommodated, tried to maybe earn someone's love instead of just receive someone's love, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We do these things. If you're like me, you do these things where you make accommodations for another person to keep the peace, to go along, to be a good sport, and you're giving up little things over and over again, more and more of the things that make you you. And because it happened slowly, because it happened over time, it didn't seem like a big deal. It seemed like it happened suddenly, but it didn't. And I was actually, you know, when I opened the conversation, was talking about how I was left broke and alone. But the money was just the big obvious thing. The thing that I didn't even notice that was more important that I was giving away was my power and myself. And I didn't even know it. So I hope that if this resonates with you, you'll join me next Thursday as I try to close the loop on this story and start to get on the other side of it. And I invite you to come with me. Thanks so much for joining me and listening to this little slice of my life. I hope you will come back and join me next week as we continue growing up late.